Well, welcome back to Inside the Kentucky Derby, where I'm trying to figure out if I learned anything this weekend, Darren Rogers, on the road to the Kentucky Derby. One thing I did learn is that the Super Bowl hangover is real, and we haven't experienced the road to the Kentucky Derby hangover yet, but we will on a Monday after all the prep races are run. Kevin Kirstein, Darren Rogers again here with you inside the Kentucky Derby. Of course, before we get going, we couldn't be doing the show without our friends over at Woodford Reserve, who help us out, the presenting sponsor of the road to the Kentucky Derby, as well as the Kentucky Derby, which will be held, of course, this year in the first Saturday in May. Woodford Reserve with 200 flavor notes in every sip. It's always a spectacle for the senses. Please enjoy responsibly. Darren, I'll leave you with that. What did you learn this weekend on the road to the Kentucky Derby?
I learned that we have some pretenders, and I learned that we have some exciting new prospects to consider.
I like that answer. That's a very good answer. I'll flat out learn this weekend that I don't think we saw the Kentucky Derby winner running.
Yep.
In any of those races. I just don't believe that. But I do believe that we have some players that will be a part of the championship series that we saw in both Litigate, who won the Sam Davis, and Hit Show, who won the Withers. I think both of those horses will turn up in the championship series and be players in their respective regions. Don't know where either of them will show up yet. Of course, Litigate winning down at Tampa, his stablemate Kings Barnes, who was an impressive allowance winner on Sunday's card down at Tampa. I don't know if they'll both show up in the Tampa Bay Derby or if their trainer will send them, trainers will send them to other spots. But Hit Show, of course, trained by Brad Cox. Brad's got a flurry of Kentucky Derby contenders. Hit Show's, he was based at Oaklawn. He's now hanging out at Belmont, as Brad said. He could be showing up back in New York for the Wood Memorial, or maybe go back to Arkansas for the Arkansas Derby, and then chase the chaos out west. Darren, not Triple Crown nominated. Don't know what the Ed Moger barn will do with him, but could be one that maybe will show up in the Santa Anita Derby. I don't know how often Ed Moger ships south in California.
He does. He runs there.
Yeah.
I know he's qualified to the Preakness.
Yeah, that is a Preakness qualifier.
Yes.
But we'll have to prove it on dirt, of course, the Tapeta surface up at Northern Cal. You want to start? Let's start down.
Start wherever you want.
Let's start down in Florida, because I want to think of some sunny temperatures down in Florida, where Litigate was, I guess, against that field. He wasn't impressive numbers wise, but he was definitely the best in the Sam Davis. He earned an 87 Brisnet speed rating for his length and a quarter win in the Sam Davis. I think the flat out statement is he needs to get faster.
Yeah, he does, but he went against the grain, which was nice. Proved that he could win over that surface. I think that's very important. Tampa Bay can be a tricky surface. Throughout the day, it looked like, it was definitely a speed favoring track. From the outside position on the podcast last week, we talked about it with Travis Stone. We thought there'd be a number of horses that would be, possibly positioned where they would be caught wide. And I thought Litigate would be one of them. But his jockey, Luis Saez, did a fabulous job getting out of the gate. I mean, he went fast, he crossed over, settled into the tooth path, and then he kind of backed off and let the leaders go. And he was rated in fifth. They went 23-4, 46-4, and he was in the clear. And then he made his move on the turn.
Yeah. And here's Jason Beam taking us through the stretch call of Sam Davis.
As Litigate comes up alongside of Zydeco, Litigate goes to the front. Zydeco back to second. Classic Legacy on the outside. Groveland up the rail. A final 16th to go. And Litigate's in front. It's Litigate with 50 yards left to go. Zydeco down on the rail. Groveland, Litigate still there. Groveland with one final surge. And Litigate going to go on to win it here.
So,
yeah, I mean, that was, look, I don't know what he beat. The number didn't come back fast. He did shoot to the front. Zydeco was the leader. Groveland made a couple of runs. He tried around the turn. He was trying to come up the inside. Zydeco kicked clear, and then Groveland went to his outside. Zydeco finally gave up late, but Groveland kept running. He was a big long shot in there. Litigate, again, very professional, got the job done, won over the Tampa Bay surface, which can be a tricky surface. And again, this was against the grain because everybody throughout the day looked like they were, it was a borderline conveyor belt at Tampa. So, you know, if I'm buying stock, I don't think I'm buying, but I'm not selling just yet.
Yeah, you're holding.
I'm holding.
It's buy, sell, hold.
I hope I bought it cheap.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Hope you got in cheap.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting when you look at his speed rating of 87 on the Brisnet scale and looking at the last 10 years of Kentucky Derby winners at this stage. So around the stage of, you know, mid to late February or, you know, just in this range, what do you think their average Brisnet speed rating was around this time?
Well, that's a tricky question because I have an opinion on the Tampa Bay runners, which I'll give in a moment after my guess. I'm going to say it's 91.
98.5.
Oh, wow. That's a lot higher than I thought.
Yeah. And there is some cases where Rich Strike, who obviously got an 88 in the John Battaglia Memorial. You look at Country House, who ran second in the Risen Star. He got a 93 all the way back to Always Dreaming in an allowance race in late January at Gulfstream. He got an 84. So, you know, it is a couple of scales there, but you look at some of the big boys in here. Tis the Law 108 in the Holy Bull, Night Quest 103 in the San Vicente, Mandaloon 100 in the Risen Star, Justify 104.
Okay, I'm sorry. I misunderstood the question. I thought you were talking about traditional Sam F. Davis winners.
No, I was talking about the Derby winners this time of year.
Yeah, no,
so he needs to get faster.
He needs to get faster. So, look, the Tampa Bay route for me has always been, I've always viewed it as a B team type of route. It can be a starting point for nice horses. But if you're based in South Florida, you are typically running in the Florida Derby series. And if you are not, usually you're avoiding some of the big boys on that Florida Derby series and you venture your way over to the Sam F. Davis and the Tampa Bay Derby. That's how I've always viewed it. And, you know, I'm not going to go, you know, I may have even uttered the phrase at some point, it's the Sunland Derby East, but that's just me. That's just me, just trying to keep it real on this podcast. So, again, it doesn't mean, you know, the one thing about the horses that do run well over the Tampa Bay surface, they're usually fit because it's more sandy based.
Yeah.
You can get real fit and come out of there, you know, strong, but I just think it's a step below.
Yeah. We'll go to New York now as we move up the coast, where Hit Show ran 101 Brisnet speed rating for his 5.5 length victory in the Withers Stakes. And I think we learned there that Arctic Arrogance doesn't want to go this far, and Hit Show took advantage of that and running to his 5.5 length victory. You agree with the Arctic Arrogance statement?
No, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to the stretch call. Look, look, Arctic Arrogance. No, I didn't see it that way. He made all the running. He was sent from the outset. While it was, you know, decent fractions, they went, you know, the half and 48. I don't know. I think he just got outrun, and he's better than the rest up there. What does that mean in the overall picture? I'm not certain. Hit Show, on the other hand, you know, he settled. He tracked down on the inside, down the backstretch. You know, he had a little bit of a pace to run at, I thought, and made that move. Kind of tried to slip through on the inside and then tipped out into the clear and the stretch. And he just proved to be much the best. And I thought Arctic Arrogance was much the best in second. Yeah, a cut below, I'd say. That was at 1.1 miles. I'm not sold that distance was the issue. He had every right to get a little tired.
Here's Chris Griffin's stretch call now. Well, after we get Darren's thoughts, here's Chris Griffin on the call of the Withers.
Hit Show is looking to pounce on the outside as they approach a final furlong. They are 5 clear here from General Banker, and Hit Show has taken the lead. It's Hit Show who's now striding away. Arctic Arrogance is a game second. Hit Show drops over to the rail, has less than a 16th to go. It's Brad Cox, Manny Franco, Hit Show in the Withers.
So there was the Withers stretch call, and I guess timing wise, the series in Naira goes back to a mile now. And I don't foresee Hit Show maybe cutting back to a mile. Maybe we'll see him stretching out in the Wood Memorial. I think it's proven that Brad Cox wants to run his horses between every 5 and 6 weeks and won't run them back in a month. So yeah,
well bred, son of Candy Ride out of the Tappet mare Actress. And, the final, I know the figure came back fine, but 154.17 for a mile and 1/8 just stands out at me. I know I got to keep it real, got to keep it in perspective with other times throughout the day. But man, if you were to be generous and say that, he's going to run another 12 seconds for the other 1/8 of the mile in the Kentucky Derby. That's 2:06 and change.
So that'll put him about
Sunday silences
5, 10, 15, 20 lengths off the winner.
Yeah, I mean, it just and again, you can't just throw out a raw time like that. But and the others, not up to par for this year's road.
The El Camino Real Derby annually makes horses prove it in a championship series race over the dirt, being run on the Tapeta surface. Chase the Chaos, who was not Triple Crown nominated, was the 1.5 length victor in that race over favored Gilmore, who was trained by Bob Baffert, ineligible to garner points in the El Camino Real. Interesting wagering, I think, Darren, going into post with Gilmore being off as the favorite, but Chase the Chaos, who was able to settle around the turn and make that run down the lane, I thought, was the best of that field.
Yeah, he saved my face, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
Look, coming into the race, the Sam F. Davis, I like Classic Car Wash. He went off at 12-1. He finished third, albeit a distant third. I like Jungfrau in the Withers, who did not run a step for Bill Mott, but I did like Chase the Chaos, who paid $10 and change while winning the El Camino Real Derby. He, Nullarbor was a runoff for the Baffert barn coming out of some sprints. And he went out there 23-1, 47-2, 12-3, and he was just open lengths. And Chase the Chaos, he tracked kind of between horses, surged in the final 16th and proved to be a good victor. I thought he was the best horse in the race going in, or from a gambling standpoint. Gilmore was second. Do you put him on a plane and try the Jeff Ruby? The timing works out. Be interesting to see.
Yeah. Who else was very excited is Armando Ayuso, as you'll hear in the call from Matt Dinnerman.
In front, Nullarbor trying to fight back, but he's struggling now. Down on the inside, Gilmore, and Chase the Chaos is let loose. Chase the Chaos on the outside, coming to the front for the Ed Moger Jr. barn, and it's going to be the local. Chase the Chaos, Armando Ayuso with the winning ride, and a pumped up Armando Ayuso gets it done aboard Chase the Chaos. Gilmore second, Passarando third, photo for 4.
And that's what I think makes it a big deal on the road to the Kentucky Derby, Darren, is, for a circuit like Golden Gate, who, sort of gets forgotten about in the California picture, and then they have a major race like this and a jockey like Armando Ayuso. Just watching visually the replay of that race, he was standing up in the saddle, fist pumping after the race. This was almost his Kentucky Derby.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Golden Gate has such a strong history. I don't think many people realize in the 1950s, Golden Gate was the track of choice in the summertime, not Del Mar. The Bill Shoemakers of the world, they went up there and ran in Northern California. this is a race with a lot of history. It's why it's included in the series. It also is on the synthetic surface. It gives those horses an opportunity to consider races like the Jeff Ruby Stakes as well. It's a little bit of a path to the Derby, kind of backdoor it. Got 10 points for the win, not Triple Crown nominated. They have to put up $6,000 to get on that leaderboard. Again, we'll see what happens. But yes, anytime you win $100,000 or on a small circuit track, that's a big deal.
Have you been up to Golden Gate in your California?
I
journeys?
have. I have. Only once though.
Yeah.
Only once. I made it to Golden Gate once and Bay Meadows once. I don't think people realize, if you haven't been out in California, how big of a difference. I grew up in Southern California, going to the, Del Mar, Santa Anita, Hollywood Park, Fairplex, Los Alamitos. And if you get in a car and drive to Northern California, that's a 7-hour drive.
Whew.
It's a big state.
Yeah, that's
it's
a haul.
7-hour drive.
That's
so
a haul.
It's not like it's right around the corner.
You can drive the coast, go to wine country, though. You can make the trip out of it.
The finest meats and cheeses, KK.
Yeah, that's kind of like our Super Bowl spread that we got over there.
We
on the
do.
table.
We have a secondary Super Bowl spread carryover from yesterday.
I love the carryovers. What else did we see this weekend, Darren, that impressed you? You had King's Barnes, you had Arthur's Ride down at Gulfstream, Wadsworth at Turfway. Any of those impressed you?
Let's start out in Southern California.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, we had Go Rocket Ride for Richard Mandela jump on the scene. And on Super Bowl Sunday, John Sheriff's had a curling colt that jumped on the scene, looked like he went very fast. A horse by the name of Skinner. So I would, winning a mile, he went in 136 and change. The speed figure came back good. He was outfitted early. He raced in the clear. He made a move on the turn about 3 or 4 wide. And I think most importantly, if you watch the replay, I mean, the horse's ears are just perked and ready for jockey Victor Espinoza to ask for more. He's just waiting on command. So he looks like a horse that's going to handle a route of ground. He'll be interesting out in California. Down at Gulfstream, Arthur's Ride got the money in a maiden special weight under Richard Kingskit. He was forward on the inside with Case and Dreamlike. Case was the 8-5 favorite. Dreamlike was 5-2. Was urged a little bit, got the money. He looked like, as a son of Tappet out of a Point Given mare, that he'll appreciate the route of ground, and he'll probably show up in championship series races. Let's see. You mentioned King's Barnes. A very professional effort. He broke well. He kind of let the 37-1 shot. What was it? Zentiv Zuliano kind of run off, and then Cuvier, he let them go, and he surged on the, along the inside on the turn. And I thought it was a very business-like, victory, as it should be at 1-2 odds. He won by 7 3/4 lengths. So as you said, he's got the option of coming back in the Tampa Bay Derby. Those were some of the horses. Good Gold Magic won a 6 furlong maiden special weight down at Gulfstream Park on Saturday. He's a Canadian bred, so this might be more of a possible Queen's Plate type of horse, but
King's Plate this year.
Oh, that's right. It is the King's Plate.
Yeah.
The coronation is on Derby Day.
How about it?
Well,
God save the king.
There's an old habit that I'm going to have.
That's going to never be broken.
For 51 years of my life, it's been the Queen's Plate. You're right. It's the King's Plate.
How about it?
I have to show my respect. But Gold Magic, he tracked in third in the clear. Kind of let the 8-1 Mr. Peaks go. The 6-5 favorite at Nico was in second. He was just kind of tracking, and I thought he showed some good energy late, but that's about it. Wadsworth got the job done up at Turfway in the synthetic. So Wadsworth for Brad Cox. He tipped out and he looked like he was much the best under Chris Landeros. That horse looks like it could be a Jeff Ruby type of horse. I don't know. I thought that was an interesting weekend, but the one horse that I I think impressed me the most was Skinner for John Sheriffs.
John Sheriffs.
So it was outside the road, but possibly he's going to take an on-ramp.
Yeah. Always good to get on the on-ramp, and John Sheriffs and Victor Espinoza have won a couple of big races in their day with a couple of notable horses that I think everyone knows about. So that was the action this past weekend. The championship series, Darren, kicks off Saturday with the Risen Star down at Fairgrounds. They already drew the card. We're going to go through that on Wednesday here on Inside the Kentucky Derby, and it's field of 14 of very intriguing prospects, and there's some a lot of eyes that'll be on Fairgrounds. 6 horses that we included in Kentucky Derby Future Wager Pool 4 that closed on Sunday are in this Risen Star field. So I think that's going to kick off the championship series with a bang, and Kentucky Derby Future Wager ended with a bang on Sunday.
How about the Future Wager? The handle was about $340,000, so it was up from a year ago, about 4%. No surprise, all other 3-year-olds closed as the 2-1 favorite. You know, the Baffert trained horses, as everybody knows, there is an injunction that the Baffert team is trying to get via the court system to delay or rescind the rule of the horses needing to be transferred to other trainers by February the 28th. So this next pool in March, let's just assume everything goes as is. And, you know, I can't comment any further because it's, you know, we're under litigation, but assuming that the rule stands, you're going to see a number of those horses change barns, some exciting prospects, and we'll get a better feel of the odds. But, you know, all those horses right now, including the all others that went off at 2-1, Forte, no surprise, the 8-1 second choice, but the third choice surprised me even. I knew she'd take action, but to think she'd close as the third choice, the filly, Hoosier Filly, who makes a return in Saturday's Rachel Alexandra at Fairgrounds, closed at 11-1.
Lots of money on Hoosier Filly. And of course, the next pool, the Future Wager for both the Derby, will coincide with the Lone Oaks pool. So, couple of options there for Hoosier Filly, who is Triple Crown nominated and will run in the Rachel Alexandra First Steps First, and then is nominated to the twinspires.com Louisiana Derby down there.
And then next pool is March the 10th through the 12th. And again, like KK said, the Oaks Future Wager will coincide with that. Some other horses, by the way, we did look it up and confirm the fourth choice, which Tapit Trice, is Tapit Trice.
Yeah.
The dam was Danza Trice. And at least that's how it was pronounced when she ran, the mother. But so Tapit Trice was 15-1. Instant Coffee, the Kentucky Jockey Club and Lecomte winner, closed at 22. Smarty Jones victory formation was 23-1. That Mandela Fast Maiden winner, Go Rocket Ride, closed at 25-1. You had Blazing Sevens at 27-1. He's nearing a comeback. Banishing at 27-1. He didn't show up in the Risen Star, but he's going to show up in a first level allowance at Fairgrounds, I believe, right?
Yep,
KK?
He's in the first level allowance earlier on the card.
And then Litigate closed at 28. Hit Show at 28. And those were just some of the ones that are under 30-1. So kind of a bunched group. Maybe when we see all those other horses included, the Arabian Nights, doubt we're going to use Cave Rock because he still hasn't breezed yet.
He did not pass the Super Bowl breezing rule of Darren Rogers.
Yeah, that's the Darren Rogers Super Bowl breezing rule. Newgate, by the way, off the trail, sidelined with a setback after his victory in the Sham. Anyway, Hijazi, there's so many of those. Faustin, a number of promising horses trained by Bob Baffert, who is in year 2 of the 2-year suspension following a medication violation with Medina Spirit in 2021.
Yeah, so that'll come down the road, but we'll be back in just 48 hours, and we'll chat about this weekend's Risen Star, plus much more.
The championship series is here.
It is here. It's feeling like Derby time, Darren.
It is. And if you enjoy this podcast, don't forget to write a review. Please, we ask of you to click 5 stars for our 4-star performance.
You know, I heard this weekend from a listener of the podcast. They love listening to the podcast, and they said there's a new way to listen to podcasts, and they listen on 1.5 times the speed. So you get through podcasts quicker. Wow. So we're going to have a little squeaky voices in the podcast of our loyal listener. But he told me that. He said, I love listening to your podcast. I do listen to it on 1.5 times speed. So your voices, are talking a little faster.
Haven't done that yet.
Yeah, but it is. You get through a couple of podcasts in an hour if you want to get it,
Well, that's the thing we like about doing this podcast. During the racing season at Churchill Downs here in Louisville, we have a weekly Friday night radio show on ESPN Louisville from 6 to 7. It's great locally because, while people are leaving, work, horse racing is talked about in drive time. We love doing it, but you're relegated to an hour. Sometimes we just have things to say for 17 minutes. Every once in a while between now and the Derby, we're going to have guests like we did last week with Travis Stone. We'll get to know some folks. We can carry on, but we're not held back by any time. So we appreciate anybody that is listening, and hope you enjoy the Derby as much as I know myself and KK do. We absolutely love it. We live and breathe it. We love working here at Churchill Downs. And, it's just, this is such a great time of year. Now under 12 weeks, next Saturday will be 11 weeks till the Run for the Roses. And this is such a exciting time as you see these horses take step forwards and mature. And it's always fun for us can we identify them?
Yeah, that's the puzzle each year is, can you find this year's Derby winner? We're trying to find the prospective field this far out. And
hey, before we go, we didn't, what was your reaction to the Suncoast, the Wonder Wheel, Julia Shining race where they were upset by the 38-1 shot Dreaming of Snow? What were your thoughts?
I want to give them another chance, especially Julia Shining and Wonder Wheel too. I mean, it was their first start of the year, and so
that's the key.
It was the first start of the year. They're both getting started at Tampa, and like you said, Tampa being a surface, it's more tiring on horses. Have to have a more fit mind. I can see Wonder Wheel now going to the Ashland and running the performance back at Keeneland to what we saw at 2 and improving off of that effort. So, and same with Julia Shining too. I mean, I think she's a very well and regally bred filly and can improve off of that.
We often look at these races, they're prep races for greater goals. You alluded to it with the El Camino Real Derby up in Northern California. The jockey, celebrating and as Chase the Chaos won. That's their Derby. Dreaming of Snow's Derby might have been the Suncoast or her version of the Oaks. It's clear that Wonder Wheel and Julia Shining, this is a first step towards a greater goal, but winning these races in their own right, some of these horses, it's go time now. Mm-hmm. We have to remember that as horse players that, now I wasn't going to, identify her at 38-1.
No,
but she was one of the beneficiaries of the fast racetrack going wire to wire.
That was
well bred, by the way.
That was a fun card at Tampa. Kudos to Allison DeLuca, their stakes and their racing secretary down there. She does a phenomenal job trying to piece together their racing card, and she put together a great card for Sam Davis. They'll be back on the national spotlight in the Tampa Bay Derby in 5 weeks from now. That's it for us. We'll chat again on Wednesday and dissect this Risen Star and try and find the winner. Thanks again for listening to Inside the Kentucky Derby.